Hi everyone, it's Josh here from JDG. Following my article last week about a smooth end of tenancy process, I've had lots of questions about what actually happens at the end of a tenancy and how the deposit scheme works. So today I wanted to go into a little bit more depth as to what actually happens. So, once we receive a tenant's notice, we check the dates all match up with the required 1 month's notice, and we then officially confirm receipt and outline the process to the tenant, including any rent owed from the end of their current rental period up to the end of the tenancy. This is calculated on a daily rate. We also ask for their current energy suppliers, as you may briefly adopt the supplier during any void period. We provide the tenant with a copy of their inventory and a checklist to remind them of the things they need to consider when moving out their home, as well as the common things that tenants tend to forget, such as dusting the skirting boards and cleaning the oven, etc. This helps them understand what we expect from them at the end of the tenancy, and hopefully helps ensure we can return their full deposit to them and everything comes back looking great. Next up, we'll contact you, the landlord, and outline the relevant dates and payments and next steps. If you'd like to re-let the property and we've rented it quite recently, we may be able to use the current marketing materials we have on the system if nothing major has changed. If the property hasn't been on the market recently or has any of the main aspects missing, such as the photos, the floor plan or the virtual tour, then we'll need to arrange for these to be done. It's usually best if we wait until the tenant has left, as it'll show the property off to its best without any clutter and shows the whole space on offer, particularly for unfurnished properties. We'll get this booked in the diary once the tenant has gone. We'll also check that your legally required EPC is in date and valid, and if not, we can arrange for new ones to be done during the tenant's notice period, so you don't have to wait until they've gone. Once the tenant has vacated and returned the keys to us, we'll arrange for a post-tenancy checkout inspection to be carried out. This will look similar to the inspection reports you've had during the tenancy if it's a managed property, but it'll include a lot more detail and specific pictures of any problem areas so that we can get them sorted. The final report will be compared to the ingoing inventory, and it's a bit of a big spot the difference game that we have to play to see if there's anything we need attention on. Now, all deposits are protected via one of the sort of approved government schemes, and they have very specific rules about what can and cannot be claimed and any proportional payments. Tenants are required to return the property in a similar condition to when they moved in, with an allowance for fair wear and tear, proportional to the length of the tenancy. So, for example, on a 6-month tenancy, we expect minor scuff marks at a low level and barely anything mid and high. Conversely, a 5-year tenancy would expect higher wear and tear at low levels and smaller amounts at sort of medium and high levels, in line with living in a property for that amount of time. One of the main concepts that deposit companies work on is the concept of betterment. A landlord can't make a claim on a deposit if they end up with the condition of the property being better than when a tenant moved in at the expense of the tenant. This is most reflected in the replacement of items or decor in the property. Adjudicators will look at the age of an item and then ascertain the average life of that type of item and the cost of a replacement. They then calculate the life left of the item and award a proportional amount towards the cost of the replacement from the deposit. So, for example, a tenant has stained a carpet that was fitted 2 years before the tenancy started. The tenant has been in a year, and so the age of the carpet is now 3 years old. A medium quality carpet would have a lifespan of around 5 years. We get a quote to replace the carpet and it's £100. The adjudicator would calculate that a 5-year carpet replacement costs £100, and so it depreciates in value by £20 every year. 3 years has passed, and therefore we can make a claim for £40 towards the replace of carpet for the last 2 years of life that you would have had on it. Without this process, the tenant would be required to pay the full £100, and the landlord would have a brand new carpet when the one that was down when they moved in was already 2 years old, and that is classed as betterment. Hopefully that makes some sense with all those calculations, but that is exactly what an adjudicator would do in this situation. This can be a frustrating process, especially if you've not have had to replace the carpet or redecorate a property, for example, if a certain bit of damage hadn't happened. But it's designed to be fair to all parties. So landlords can get a contribution towards the work based on the age of what it was when they moved in, but also tenants aren't paying to improve the landlord's property beyond the condition it was when they moved in. Your dedicated property manager will review the documents when a tenant moves out and discuss these with you. They'll be able to advise on what you can and cannot claim and put forward any valid claims that are agreed on, so we've got the best chance of getting that money back. The tenant will be informed of this claim and it will be put then via the deposit scheme. This has to be done within 10 days of the tenancy ending. The tenant then has 14 days to accept or reject the claim. If they accept, the deposit company apportions the deposit to each party and it gets paid out. If they reject, we will then have the opportunity to go through an itemised list of the claim and pop it forward to the tenant with reasons. They can then accept, counter-offer or reject each component of the claim, and we put this to you. If we still want to proceed with a full claim, we then go on to the dispute process. As an agency, we will always opt to use the deposit scheme's independent adjudication process, rather than go through court. If you as a landlord want to pursue a tenant through court, particularly where the damage done to your property far exceeds the deposit, you're welcome to do that yourself. We can provide you with the evidence you may need, but that will be down to yourself to do that. Once a dispute has been raised via the adjudication process, each party then is required to give clear evidence as to why the claim is being made. This is usually made up of the tenancy agreement, inventory pictures, checkout report and pictures, and any other relevant quotes or invoices for the work. If you manage the property yourself, it's very important that you make sure you get dated pictures at the end of the tenancy and written quotes for any works that you get done, as well as clear written evidence of any discussions you've had with a tenant. For managed landlords, we can provide this information based on our management of the tenancy and proof of any conversations or email chains that we may have. Tenants also will have the opportunity to provide any counter evidence as well. The important part of the adjudication process is that we must be able to back up any claim we are making with evidence and any costs and proof of those costs. So for example, if your mate has just gone to remove some stuff and charge you 30 quid for it, but didn't give you a receipt or any invoice, we'd then struggle to prove that cost. So we need to make sure everything is written down so that we can get the most out of that claim for you. There will be a deadline date for any evidence, which is usually a few weeks after the case goes to dispute. Once the evidence is collected from everybody, it then goes off for adjudication, and this can take up to a month, but we should be informed with dates from the deposit company. When it's all done, we'll receive a report of the decision from the adjudicator along with why they have come to these conclusions, and this decision will be final. It cannot be revisited or appealed. We always hope that with clear communication, inspections and setting out our expectations from the start that we can avoid these kind of situations. If they do come up, then there is this rigorous process in place to ensure a fair outcome as possible for everybody. Whilst any dispute is going on, you can of course move on with reletting the property or selling it or moving in if that's what you're doing. We can instruct contractors to go ahead with any remedial works on your behalf, and you just pay any invoices directly in the first instance. Once we receive funds from an accepted claim or from a dispute decision, we'll then be able to forward these straight on to you so that you've got as much funds as we can put towards any invoices that come in. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what happens at the end of a tenancy, but there is of course an endless list of different scenarios. So if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch by giving us a call on 01524 843322 or dropping me an email. It's josh@jdg.co.uk. Thank you very much.